Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption.
Good evening everybody, it's Militiaman and Crew here. Hey, I just want to get started with some information from Iraq, new data, and we just do collectively all kinds of different stuff. But firstly, I want to thank everybody again for supporting Militiaman and Crew. Your guys' donations really truly help keep the content moving. It keeps it fresh. It keeps the ability for all of us that have daily lives. All of us have our normal jobs and stuff, and so it does help try to keep those folks engaged. But the information is truly what we want to do, and we try to help, and that's your helping us helps you. Okay, so that's why we bring all this information on a regular basis. So thank you very much. And I hope you guys get a good grasp of the education and are able to get a good foundation and understanding of truly what you have and what you own. That's a really important situation. I mean, for instance, we've talked about this in the past, is that, I don't know if you guys noticed the gold price is over $2,650 an ounce. My highest was $1,350 back in the day, right? But I've changed my tune, but the bottom line is it's like, wow, something's going on. Why? Central banks are probably buying gold. They're the biggest movers and shakers. There's some big entities and some international institutions that do buy gold and such, but the central banks do drive that market somewhat. And silver, for instance, I think it's over $32, which is phenomenal too. And they have room for growth because silver and gold are money, right? So pay attention to that. New technologies are going to be money also. And so we've talked a little bit about that, some of those technologies, and I'm not going to get into that tonight, but I just wanted to still say thank you, and we really do appreciate all the Zelle, PayPal, and Venmo donations, small, medium, and large. They all help, and it really does create an environment that you guys can have and learn from. So thank you very much, and we'll leave that alone. Okay, have a great day on that part. So the first article I'm going to talk about is Iraq plans currency redenomination and economic challenge. So yesterday, coming out of Erbil, the Central Bank of Iraq has announced that discussions regarding the project to remove the zeros from the Iraqi dinar are ongoing, with assessments continuing. The bank also noted a reduction in reliance on the US dollar for trade transactions. I'm not sure how many articles, but it's been like 5 in the last few days, maybe even 6, that talk about deletion of the zeros. But one of the main things is that it says many countries do specific things to their currencies to revalue the national currency and facilitate financial transactions. This particular case, it says the process involves eliminating a certain number of zeros from the nominal value of the currency. Okay, from the currency. So that's the exchange rate. Keep that in mind, okay? And stick with it, because that's what it is. Don't change it. Don't try to do anything. Don't make it any different. It's just keep it the nominal value of the currency. They're going to take 3 zeros off the nominal value of the currency. So we'll move on to the next subject, because that one's been beat to death. But it's cool, though, that they're still talking about it. Yeah. This, like yesterday and a few days before. So Iraq is to be completing financial transfers electronically, and the United States Treasury reveals its economic growth rate. So this particular article is interesting because the advisor to Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani received yesterday evening, which is, well, a little bit late, but Baghdad, U.S. Deputy Secretary of the Treasury Wally Adeyemo, and a number of officials in the U.S. Treasury Department. I posted this on Patreon, in our forum, patreon.com/MMANDCREW, so you can get all these articles. Each and every one of these are in my room, in at least the Discord chat room. I'm going to say a massive percentage is in the Discord chat room, which is a free add-on to being a member. But I give my analysis in a lot of that in both places, but I give my analysis also primarily too, though, in Patreon. So enjoy those. The government has made great strides in financial banking reforms. 95% of bank transfers have been completed through electronic platforms, and less than 5% remains to be completed by the end of this year. I'm fairly certain, you guys, that they're not waiting to go to the end of this year. They can't tell us every single thing that they're going to do minute verbatim. It just doesn't work that way. The bottom line is you have to try to decipher where are they, how much have they done, and can you reflect on some of the past. It's really important that if you understand the past, you can see where they've been. Okay, so you got to rewind a little bit and come back and say, hold on, they said they were going to do this. Now that they've done that, okay, so where are they at? They're on the next stage. So anyway, it's awesome stuff on that particular case. They've already have the correspondent banks that they're working with around the world. They've done this. We know this stuff. So look, when they're talking about we have to have correspondent banks and ready to go at this stage, look, they've already done all that. I'm fairly confident in saying that they've established the correspondent banks to make things necessary. They're talking about the non-oil revenues coming in. They have the ability to process and getting rid of all the excess transfers. And they're doing this. They're doing it now. They're doing all the things that they need to do to be ready to go, to be able to put Iraq into a stable situation, into a market economy, and to set the stage for when they are ready to go, hit the forex market. We don't know what day that is. They don't tell you that, and they're not going to. But we believe that that's where they're at this stage because they've made these inroads. And if you guys recall, there's a gentleman by the name of Al Nasuri. His article, I think it was yesterday too, calls on the government to enable private sector to contribute to providing job opportunities for the unemployed. It says here that he's quoting that Article 25 of Iraq's constitution confirms the necessity for the government to support and develop the private sector. So I'll just stop right there. First off is that al-Sudani, al-Sadr, all these different people, al-Sistani, what are they for? They are for the citizens. And if they're going to grow a market economy, they need to support the development of the private sector, and that's what this is talking about. It says the private sector must be provided with the necessary and real support from the government to help it perform its roles in providing job opportunities. It's major. Stressing, right, that the necessity for the banking sector to play a major role in financing small, medium, and large enterprises owned by the private sector, involving it in making important central economic decisions. So they're reaching out to have partnerships. We all know that, but they're still talking about it. This was yesterday. He's just reaffirming it. The Ministerial Council of the Economy, which is the MCOE, that's the highest in the land, that group, and the Economic and Financial Reform Cell, which I believe is probably the Kurdistan region, is necessary by adding the private sector through its representatives in these central committees and participating in the most important decisions for the economy in a way that supports sustainable development. Our last video, the last couple of videos have been talking about sustainable development. The buzzwords they're just flying off the charts around here. It says, Al Nasuri, when the private sector has the level of government support and adopts projects of various sizes, it can provide job opportunities for graduates to the unemployed in all specializations. Basically, how I see this, what they're talking about too, is that the youth of the country, for years to come, are going to find that they have opportunity, and I think they're talking about things of that nature in the meetings with the UN and elsewhere. So the United Nations meetings in New York City would probably have something to say about some of this stuff here shortly, if they haven't already. We just haven't seen it in print. But so here's an article too that's fascinating, and it says that the U.S. Treasury's Iraq's non-oil economy grew by 6%, which is huge. So U.S. Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo confirmed the Treasury's support for the Central Bank of Iraq. So they're getting kudos from the central bank. I mean, the Treasury Department, the central bank is, and the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani's reform program to improve the economic situation in the country. So the Secretary, Deputy, Treasury, United States of America, giving kudos, and that's pretty cool. The statement said that the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury praised the 6% growth of the non-oil economy in Iraq. So, you know, they've always valued their currency. The valuation model has always been about just oil. Now it's about non-oil, and they've increased in the last short period of time, 6%. It's massive. He says that the U.S. Deputy Secretary Wally Adeyemo noted Iraq's significant progress in reforming its banking sector, which has expanded Iraq's international financial connectivity. So if you think about that for a minute, everybody, international financial connectivity to what? To platforms. For why? For them to be able to interconnect, to be able to do global trade. That is powerful. Went over it on the last audio video we have, and what is it going to do? They also increase their financial inclusion. It says that, quotes, he adds that after that, the transition will take place in the correspondent banking system. They've already got it established in accordance with the government's approach and its commitment to raising the capabilities of Iraqi banks in line with international standards and meeting the needs of the thriving investment environment in Iraq. So what they're saying is thriving. So in other words, things are going really well. Okay, so there's various versions of this particular article. I don't think I get into all of them, but I think there's a few of them, and they're all basically the same, just have little variations. You know how that goes. So here's a minister in the parliament. He says Iraq is heading towards major economic changes and global urban revolution. And they show some guys making the shoes and all that kind of stuff, and you know, they're leather making and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty nice. He says a visit of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani in New York, participated in the 79th session of the United Nations. He's stressing that Iraq is qualified to control important files and is on the verge of major economic changes and an urban revolution in line with global developments. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty powerful. Iraq's qualified for what? To have important files and is on the verge of a major economic change. Urban revolution. I like revolution, right? It's not, well, I mean, in the sense of going from being completely stamped down effectively from war and all that to a revolutionary thing to industrial revolution, effectively, you guys. That's what I mean by that. Iraq's participation in the work of the United Nations General Assembly is a positive step. He goes on and adds that Iraq has geographical and strategic qualifications that enable it to control important economic and political and security files. He's given the reasoning for what they're doing. And noting that Iraq is on the verge of a major economic changes and is leading an urban revolution in line with global developments. The gentleman by the name of Suleiman says that the participation is an opportunity for Iraq to enhance its international presence and highlight its role in resolving regional conflicts, contributing to the stability of the region. Iraq also seeks in these meetings to strengthen its relations with major countries and attract more investments to support its development plans. And basically, look, they're sitting in a place where they're strategically set up, they're geographically set up, and they have now the ability to keep security and stability. I'm pretty sure they have one of the largest U.S. embassies in the world, and I think they're building one of the largest U.S. consulates in the world in Iraq. So keeping that in mind, investors are going to be pretty pleased about that, because who are the eyes? Well, some of our intelligence agencies, if they're doing their job, which I believe, but most of them do a very, very fine job. And thank you for your service, everybody. All you guys that are service members and social helpers, please, you have my thank you. Okay. Parliamentary delegation heads to the region to address pending issues. So, okay, so the parliamentary delegation goes to the region. So they're talking about the Kurdistan area, right? So the Finance Committee announced today, which was, well, it was not today, but it was yesterday. It says that they were there to discuss several financial files related to the region's revenues and government expenditures, the localization of employee salaries, the work of customs and taxes, the automation of border crossings, money, the extent of commitment to implementing the provisions of the federal budget for the years 2023 through 2025. Interesting that they keep bringing that up because they haven't exposed some of that budget yet. They have not done that yet. And that's the investment side. So they go on to say it will identify the obstacles with the aim of overcoming them to bring viewpoints closer together, push towards establishing a new phase of understandings based on rights and duties and achieving justice in what? The distribution of wealth. I'm not kidding you. Distribution of wealth. What's that? Well, sounds like the hydrocarbon law. The citizens, the unified treasury account, all those things are going to get monies that come in from non-oil sources, oil sources, et cetera, tourism, okay? And they're going to have to be able to have justice in that distribution of that wealth. So the head of the Finance Committee hopes that this visit will achieve technical objectives set within the framework of the committee's permanent and continuous efforts, I like the word permanent, and continuous efforts to maximize non-oil revenues and unify the whole country as one, revenues outlets to support the state treasury, there you go, unified treasury account, in a way that enables the federal government to perform its duties in serving our beloved Iraq from Zakow to Al-Fa. In other words, north and south. So the revenue streams that are going to come from the border, they're going to come from all these different entities, are going to be able to be managed with a new electronic system that will be 100% blockchain oriented, so that they have transparency, efficiency, all of those things. Speed, everything. The data system that they're going to have about the money, they're probably going to learn a lot about what was stolen from the country. And I bet you there's a lot of people out there that are not going to be too appreciative of the fact that they have been stealing from Iraqi citizens for probably 20 years. So we'll see how that turns out. But the bottom line is, it's probably the corruption part of it's coming to an end. The Supreme Committee for Tax Reform, I'm going to briefly go into this. Tax reform, you guys, if they're dealing with taxes, they're talking about taxes, tariffs at the borders. The first of which is the law in Iraq to be consistent with international standards in the field of tax accounting. And this will be clear and transparent for international companies, as well as adopting self-assessment in addition to adopting international standards. And basically, what is it going to be? It's going to turn out to be a friendly environment for who? Business people. Okay, are they talking about a lower taxes and vice versa for each entity in the country? Of course, they're going to try to do as fair as possible. The first step taken by the government is to maximize the non-oil revenues, and that began by adopting the next approach to the tax reform. So they have more packages coming. There's a couple different ones, and what are they going to do? They're just going to basically be maximizing the state's resources from sources of income and wealth outside the oil sector. So basically, they're going to take full advantage and maximize everything. So that's powerful stuff. Another wonderful article is the governor of the central bank announces the proximity of the adoption of the phone in the completion of banking operations in digital banks. Digital banks, everybody. You guys got to really take this seriously, because digital transformation is upon Iraq, whether it's in the institutions, the state institutions, whether it's at the taxes and tariffs at the borders with the ISCUDA system, or is it with their banks? And is it digital currency? We're going to find these things out. So what they do, they said, from the Central Bank of Iraq, so that's who's talking, through the data that was discussed in the Economic Payment Conference. Forgive me, you guys, I just completely blew that off. Through the data that was discussed in the Electronic Payment Conference, the success of the digital transformation plan and electronic payment clearly indicates the percentage that was around 20% a few years ago has increased to 48.5%, which is easily twice the percentage, which is massive. He goes on to say that there's a major transformation supported by a national strategy and a serious and direct government direction by the Prime Minister, giving the issue the momentum it deserves by providing the necessary infrastructure. So we're talking about, the Central Bank of Iraq is talking about dealing with what al-Sudani, the Prime Minister, has wanted. He goes on and explains that Iraq now has advanced infrastructures to accommodate electronic payment tools and financial services of all kinds in order to move soon to the transition to digital banks in which the mobile phone will lead various operations. So it hasn't quite been done just yet, like turned on, but it basically is stating that. This facilitates services for citizens, reduces opportunities for fraud, reduces opportunities for corruption, and provides important data at the national level. I talked about that. In the nature, content, control, and compliance achieved through this large system. So they're getting ready to just just show us, they're going to show us the money, I guess you guys might want to say. They had 60 applications for the central bank, is currently examining for these banks, requirements, conditions. They're just basically going to see who's who, and they've probably been involved in that for quite some time. It says the conditions and controls rules which digital banks operate, but they represent a major shift in banking services, so that's intense, and through which the citizens will be able to manage their operations through a mobile phone. So the citizens are going to be able to go to a mobile phone and do all their transactions. They can probably get messaging, text messaging. They're going to be able to get all that information that they need for what? To do banking, right? So if maybe in the future what we're going to see is that virtually you're going to be able to do banking over the internet, safe and securely. There's technology out there that's talking about that. And Iraq might just be one of those countries that has that technology. So it's not going to be like you got to go to every different site. You might be able just to log into your internet and be able to start doing what you do. I don't know. Some of these crypto platforms seem to be already doing stuff like that. So anyway, we'll see how that turns out. And there was another article that says after Blinken's meeting, they say that will Sudani resolve the Cyan pipeline crisis before the end of the year? So the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, has been in Iraq, and what are they talking about? They're working with a group of international companies, oil companies, and they're operating in the Kurdistan region. A company called Apicor was called for the necessity of reaching an official agreement between the federal government and the Kurdistan regional government to resolve the crisis of the closure of the Cyan export pipeline, which represents a vital artery for Iraqi oil exports via Turkey. Look, what they're talking about here is that Iraq has been losing about $20 billion. They've already lost about $20 billion to date since it's been shut down. I got a feeling it's probably a lot more than that, but that's what they're telling us. The closure of the pipeline literally caused losses exceeding $20 billion. Well, there you have it. They said it exceeds it. But in this context, the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, during his meeting with Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, pointed out the need to reopen the Cyan pipeline to boost foreign investment in Iraq. And this is interesting too. There's a part here that says that although the Turkish government has confirmed that the Cyan pipeline is operational, so it's working, Iraq and Turkey have not yet reached a final agreement resuming exports. We'll find out why. Companies operating in the oil sector confirmed that there are no technical obstacles, so basically the resumption of exports could come at any time, and we'll see how that turns out, especially if it's in the interest of all parties to do so, and I believe it is. It says that there's the Prime Minister indicated in the press statements that in the United States TV channel, for instance, possible to resume exports by the end of this year. I think that's being offhand, but a statement that reflects optimism, conditional, and positivity of reaching a formula of understanding between the Iraqi government and the Kurdistan region. So when a formula is reached, so we're talking about a value. In my view, I think you're talking about a value, a formula. And if they have an understanding of that, they're probably looking at, they have significant support to have that value, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've already hammered those values out. And then last but not least, you guys, we have Masoud Barzani to a parliamentary delegation. There's an opportunity to legislate the oil and gas law. That is also known as the hydrocarbon law. You guys realize that Iraq is obligated by the IMF as a founding member, or something to that effect really closely, back in 1945. They're obliged to restore confidence. They're obliged to do what? They're obliged to get rid of all restrictions on their currency. Those things come up in this Article 8, Article 14 of the IMF. Okay, the overall common situation, ways to resolve the pending issues between the central government, the Kurdistan region, in a way that establishes a new phase of cooperation, coordination, understanding based on respect for the Iraqi constitution. The files that the Finance Committee delegation came to discuss with the region government, most notably the implementation of the provisions of the federal general budget law. That's 23, 24, and 25. That's the tripartite budget. The oil and national wealth file. Distribution of the wealth, remember? Okay. The localization of employee salaries, in other words, unifying the salaries throughout the whole country. Border crossings, taxes, customs, other issues related to the financial aspect. It says Barzani praised the efforts of the Finance Committee in terms of enacting laws, monitoring performance, and taking the initiative to end disputes. So he's giving kudos, so that tells me that there's been a little bit of stuff behind the scenes. Look, let's go back in time a little bit. We're going to go back in time each time. Restoring confidence, April 14th, 2024. To strengthen partnerships with countries of the world. We're talking about Iraq, you guys. Strengthening partnerships with countries of the world. Who's talking? Sudanese Sikhs, in dealing with an outstanding issues with the political and economic balance, will restore confidence and strengthen the partnerships with all countries of the world. So do you think that al-Sudani is going to be talking about that in the next few days, or something similar? He talked about this in a year ago. Prior to, we're going to find that out. Okay, it says here, it says Iraq's membership. This is October 2023. That was April 2024. October 2023. It says Iraq's membership in the International Monetary Fund. Iraq's membership in the International Monetary Fund since December 27th, 1945. I guess I got it right. Obliges it to implement and take all possible measures to remove restrictions on the freedom of movement of capital, as indicated in Article 8 and Article 14 of the fund's establishment. It says no member may impose, without the fund's approval, restrictions on the performance of payments and transfers related to international commercial transactions. See where we're going with this, everybody? Article 14 implicitly indicates if the member is prepared to accept those obligations contained in sections 2, 3, and 4 of Article 8. The agreement encourages the free movement of capital between countries and the transfer of balances between other members, as well as the establishment of commercial and financial arrangements. International, bilateral, to facilitate the performance of international payments and work to create a stable exchange rate system, which provides the appropriate environment to attract foreign investments. I mean, this is what they said, you guys. This is a while back. Now look where we are. You got to go back in time just a little bit. Okay, so this was even further back in September, back when I believe al-Sudani was at the year ago meeting at the UNGA. Okay, so take it serious. U.S. Treasury Undersecretary of the Expansion Government's work in reducing money laundering operations, while the latter indicated that the confidence of global financial institutions has been restored. That was September. That's what they're talking about. He goes on and says that the unilateral economy towards a productive and economic economy where for the first time financial database was created for banking transactions in a way that achieves confidence. Again, it's confidence required with banks and international banks. So this gentleman Nelson appreciated the government reforms in the banking and the financial sectors and the government success. Here, you got to take this in, you guys. Restoring the confidence of global financial institutions. We're talking about Iraq. Who? With who? Citibank, JP Morgan. Stressing the U.S. Treasury's readiness to work closely with the Central Bank of Iraq, to cooperate with Iraq in the files of achieving financial liquidity and Iraqi commercial bank transfers outside the country. He renewed his country's support for the stability of the Iraqi economy. And basically another part of it, he states, is that Iraq's accession to the international financial system will enhance the world's confidence in Iraq's financial and banking system. And this matter opens a new door for foreign investment in Iraq. Iraq needs the world's confidence in its financial banking system and removes any suspicions about it. This is back in 2023, everybody. It's massive. And it's something you have to remember, is that we have to go now, where were we then, now where are we now? We're just seeing the evidence of it. So anyway, I think basically what is really powerful is that al-Sudani is basically has said in conclusion, the time has come for Iraq to take its natural place in the international community. And I think that is going to resonate with every one of us. And I would say that get ready, pay attention, because I'm hopeful that al-Sudani comes out and has al-Sudani, Taif Sami, Al-Alaq, the Ministerial Council of Economics, etc. Any one of those entities are probably going to come out. Specifically, I'm looking for the Central Bank of Iraq, of course, but we're going to get what did they do in the last couple of days. Let's wait and see what they show us, okay? That's what we do. We give you the report, and we thank you for being with me. I hope you liked the content tonight, because I really believe it's powerful, and let it resonate, okay? Enjoy. Thank you very much. And again, hit that like button and subscribe. Much appreciated.
Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.